Clog TV.
Beyond the policy.
Yeah, welcome back to the KOKO Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the KOKO Digest Morning Show, and we're about to have our main discussion. Now, before we start, what are some of your experiences with medical negligence here in Ghana? I would like to hear your experiences, and even if you can share your thoughts, please do send your messages to our WhatsApp number that will be displayed on your screen. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, so you can also share your experiences on our live stream in the comments there as well. So joining us here today is a lawyer, and he's in the person of Christian Hesse Esquire, and he's a senior associate of ECAM Law Consult at the Airport Residential Area. And today he's going to be helping us to truly understand medical negligence, the cause, the types, and even consequences from the legal standpoint. So if you have been a victim of medical negligence, today you're going to learn about what to do so that you can take action next time, or even educate a friend who may be a victim somewhere in the future. So yes, thank you so much for joining us today, lawyer.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yes. So today we're learning about medical negligence. What constitutes medical negligence in the law, in the legal aspects?
Okay. So when we say medical negligence, it comes under an area of law called tort.
Okay.
And again, this area of law called tort comes broadly under what we call civil law. Okay. So with law generally, we have the criminal and the civil side. Now, we also have a form of negligence, medical negligence, that deals with the criminal side. And that comes as a result of malpractice. We'll go into the difference between medical negligence and malpractice. Now, broadly looking at civil law and also with tort. Tort as part of civil law deals with wrongs occasioned on a person. Okay. So that when that wrong is occasioned on that person, the only way that that person can be satisfied in law would be by way of compensation. So if a friend breaks my arm, the law cannot bring back my arm, but would look at the quantum damages caused, incapacity, loss of earnings, all of that, and award me commensurate with the damage caused. Okay. Now, so basically, when we say law of torts, it deals with compensations. Aside that, it has other areas that deal with other matters. That's not much of our concern. So about 2/3 of the law of torts deals with negligent matters. Now, in dealing with negligent matters, we also have an aspect of negligence in tort that deals with medical negligence. Okay. And these are standards affixed to professionals in the medical area. So the thinking of the law, the jurisprudence behind it is that every professional operating within that particular landscape is affixed with a standard of care and skill required of such a person, such that if that particular health professional deviates from that established medical protocol, then we see that the actions of the person generally is negligence. Now, negligence is a very technical, it's a technical area of law that just not come for one to say, oh, the doctor or the hospital or this particular health worker was negligent. When that situation arises, we look at and examine the evidence available to say that indeed there is medical negligence. Now, it revolves around 4 main pillars. We first look at the duty of care. So, practically speaking, if Mr. A walks into a facility, immediately they start taking your vitals. They hold on to you through the OPD and all of that. Now, we say that the duty of care is established because they have welcomed you, they started treating you in terms of consultation and other things before you progress with later procedures. Now, having spoken of the duty of care, we also look at the breach of the duty of care. Now, the breach comes about as a result of deviation from the standards established. So, and in deviating from the standards, because duty is already established, when that person breaches that particular standards, we see you have deviated from it and you have breached the duty that you owed to that particular person. Now, in dealing with breach, we also look at causation because it is just not enough to say this particular health worker or the hospital has breached its duty that it owed Mr. A, but we try to establish a causal link in order to say that indeed the breach is a synchronon, or let me see, it's coming by as a result of that particular deviation. Now, there are situations where the causal link becomes problematic to establish. And when it happens like that, we will not be able to hold that particular person as liable or being the tort phaser. Now, aside that, then we look at the damages. And the damages, the court would look at the right quantum to award. Now, most of the times, the court looks at the age, especially when there is fatality, that's death, or in a situation where the person's ability to function as a human being has been depreciated so much. So the experts, that's in the doctors would, through the lawyer for the claimant, would have the party or his or her client examine by way of generating a report to establish the capacity of that person. So sometimes the report comes to say that Mr. A has lost 80% capacity, cannot function as a man or a woman. In that situation, the courts will look at the damages that would be enough to satisfy such a person. Now, the court also looks at the circumstances of the injury. The court looks at the age of the person. The court looks at whether the person is working or not, because we have what we call loss of chance, loss of earnings. Then the court looks at the dependents. So probably this woman is a nurse, journalist who has 3 kids she's taking care of, is the breadwinner of the family, taking care of the grandmother in the village. Now, the claimant or the lawyer for the claimant would have to lead evidence to establish all of this. This is the reason why medical negligence cases tends to swell up in millions. So if you're a hospital and your hospital in a year is sued for negligence about 3 or 4 times, and 4 million, 5 million, 4 million, 5 million, in a matter of time, your company will become insolvent.
Yes. So you mentioned evidence, but there are some cases where you may not exactly have tangible evidence. Like, let's say, a delayed birth of a child where now, you know the child is supposed to be taken out within a certain span of time, and then the child isn't taken out for whatever reason that may be valid to the officials or whatever. Then along the line, as the child is developing, you realize that there are some functions that are not up to the standard. In a case like that, how would that be handled?
Okay, all right. The first thing, in answering your question, I'll say this. It's a little bit of digression, but it's very important to this. Now, whenever one suspects that there is an issue of medical negligence, contact a lawyer of your choice.
Okay.
Now, most patients find it difficult accessing their medical records. And I'm putting it on record that hospitals or medical directors who refuse patients their medical records is against the law.
Okay.
I mean, you find very arrogant medical administrators who, even when patients are demanding of their medical records, they'll tell you that I won't give it to you. And I sometimes find it difficult to understand such administrators because apart from that particular patient holding that confidential relationship with you, none other. So it baffles my mind why some hospitals, when the very patient who you are taking care of is saying that, let me have my medical records for whatever legal advice that person is seeking or alternate medical opinion that person is seeking, it's none of your business. All you need to ensure is that you have not breached the confidential relationship that you share with that person. Okay. Now, there are situations where hospitals have refused. If you look at the cases of this lady, Elizabeth Var, and then Leicester Hospital, and even in recent time, that was in 2010, in 2021, there's this case too against Nyao Healthcare. One lady, Jeba Apia, and in all those situations, the court maintained that it is a matter of human rights. It is a human rights situation. So the hospital cannot seek to say that I will not give your records to you. That was what Leicester sought to do. That was what Nyao sought to do. And even there is a case too that was brought against 37 Military Hospital. And indeed, when the lawyers wanted the records of their client, the hospital decided not to. So the court had to rule that, again, indeed, it is a matter of human rights. There is no situation where you can say, or you would say that you want to withhold the medical records of a patient. Now, when you get that, it now becomes easy for you to trace out in the question that you asked, what happened to the child and all of that. I'm currently handling a matter which I'll not mention the name of the hospital and all that, but it's public record though. Now, so this lady was rushed to the hospital, and their first child, husband and wife, young couple, and the lady was about writing exams. Now, upon getting there, she maintained that she just saw the water broke, so they should take care of her. Now, the hospital claims that the lady delayed in giving them consent with respect to administering treatment on her. Now, she also says that it is never the situation, and she has evidence to show that it was never the situation. I never delayed using all that. Now, fast forward, she also maintains that they augmented her without her consent, without running by the consequence of it, especially as her first time. So it gave her continuous pain. Now, aside that, she was wheeled to the hospital to have, to the theater, to have the labor commence. Now, if you also look at the labor matters, the time labor started upon delivery, the hospital maintains that she was opening and closing her leg. That's how come there is prolonged delivery. Now, the baby came out asphyxiated, so oxygens to the brain and other vital organs were denied. And so the baby was lethargic and all that. Subsequently, the child was sent to a referral hospital. Again, I don't want to mention the name because it's a matter in court now. And they did everything to save the child. By 6:25 p.m., the child was pronounced dead after very vociferous and continuous seizures that the child. Beautiful baby boy, you know. So in such a situation, it is the records that we dealt with, and we were able to see the discrepancies in the medical record. So the first thing that a lawyer needs from anybody who complains of medical negligence is to ask of the medical records. If the the hospital is giving the party or the client tough time, that is when the lawyer will now write on behalf of the client or the party to the hospital medical director or the administrator that we request the medical records as a result of we acting on behalf of. In situations where they refuse, when we go to court, we file what we call discoveries, and the hospital is ordered to produce it. Failure to do it will be contempt of court, and contempt of court, the consequences are just clear.
Okay. So with a pretty close experience, or should I say personal experience, where sometimes in some of these hospitals, maybe it's just one doctor on duty. So I know somebody that she was in labor, the gynecologist was the only one on duty, but just around the time she was supposed to be attended to, there were accident victims. So she was left on in the labor ward, and then, you know, the victims were attended to. So that caused a delayed birth where the baby suffered, you know, hypoglycemia. They didn't take out the baby early enough. They didn't get to breastfeed the baby early enough. And he's become an autistic, more of an intellectually challenged child. So something like that, if the first question from that is, can the doctor or whoever, the official, argue that, you know, it was a matter of priority? Then also, can the hospital be held liable, or is just the medical professional that would be held liable?
Okay, so very intelligent question. Now, this when we talk about medical negligence, we have a number of areas. Now, we have the managerial error, and then we have the clinical errors. Now, your scenario falls under the managerial problem,
Okay.
which created the medical negligence. So, and in the managerial error, we look at the staff ratio. Now, once the hospital has admitted that particular person, it is assumed in law that you have the wherewithal to take care of that particular person. If at a point in time you are split out of staff to take care of that person, that is a managerial problem that the hospital created for itself.
Okay.
And the hospital, whatever issue that would come out, however positive or negative, they will be liable to it once there is a deviation of that particular standard of care expected. And in such a situation, the lifetime caregiving of the child, whatever medical treatment, whether in Ghana, outside Ghana, would be paid by the hospital should they go to the hospital.
Oh, okay.
So for me, I tend not to sympathize too much with people who suffer from medical negligence when they have the means to. Now, there are a number of law firms that they can enter into various arrangements with you, knowing very well that you have a case. There are good lawyers there who are very well versed with medical claims, and they can strike an arrangement with you that will not require you to do a lot of the pre-financing, but given the authenticity of your case, they can do the pre-financing for you, and then based on a legal service agreement, you pay after, given the claims that the court will do. So when I see people going around and begging, when indeed the court can give you millions of Ghana cedis to take care of your situation, to take care of not just your situation, but to take care of your situation as a lifetime matter. And you go around pleading or courting sympathy. I sometimes don't get it. Move around. There are lawyers around. There are law firms around. Seek legal opinion and let your problems be solved. And for the past 3 years, I have been on this campaign with the Mount Hesse Medical Negligence and being hosted at various hospitals. So it has been a road a road show
Okay.
at all the major hospitals. We've been to Ridge, we've been to Police Hospital, we've been to a number of hospitals. Now, and you sometimes get the problems, or you see the problems that are coming out of these hospitals. Some of them managerial, other has to do with physician problems and all of that. It beholds on leadership to take, especially the hospitals, to take continuous professional education very serious. Some of the hospitals don't find it a reason why they should train their staff. They believe that, oh, once the person is a nurse, once the person is a doctor, it's business as usual. It is not business as usual. They need to find time, engage law firms to give them refresher programs in order to help develop them.
Yeah.
And I'm not surprised why the instance of medical negligence cases are now finding their way to the courts. And I feel that it is the way to go, because the more results we get, the more it strengthens the healthcare delivery system.
Yeah. But one could also say that a lot of people don't know how to even go about this legal procedure, because there's the perception that lawyers are expensive and things like that. I'm sure the layman, the average Ghanaian here in Ghana here, does not know that they can, even if they have a case, they can go and talk to a lawyer, because they think that they don't have the money or the means. How many people even know of the law firms we have here in Ghana? Aside the few maybe we see on the roadsides, maybe the billboards and things of the sort, there isn't that much education about how to access legal help or legal assistance in the country. So what about that? How do we also tackle an issue like that?
Yes. My answer to that is, now the internet penetration in Ghana has increased.
Yeah.
I don't have the statistics to say, but for whatever it is worth, just as you go on WhatsApp, Instagram, and all those platforms, you can just Google on your phone to see law firms in Ghana. It will list them. A number of them are on various platforms, Legal 500 and other legal marketing directories, platforms. Or you can type medical negligence lawyers in Ghana.
Okay.
You get it. If you don't have the know-how, you can tell your nephew, you can tell your niece or relative or a friend that this is what I suffered. Do you know of any lawyer or law firm who can assist? And definitely somebody would suggest someone to you. If you go to that person and you start saying your issue, you would get to know whether or not that lawyer is versed in medical negligence. And be sure of where you are going to. Because with medical negligence case, Justice Akabuafo, I mean, as he sat at the General Jurisdiction Court 6, in the matter that, in a judgment he delivered, bordering University of Ghana, mentioned that when it comes to medical negligence, the court is not a court of sympathy. And in this situation, the man failed to call expert witness to testify on his behalf, when University of Ghana had called a number of experts to testify that whatever he was talking about cannot hold in medicine, because there's an alternate opinion. Okay. You get it? So it is everything to know the kind of lawyer to you're engaging, that person is skilled in medical. We have lawyers who are good in land, criminal, general. But see, when it comes to medical negligence, just do your work and make sure that your situation is salvaged. Okay.
So we have viewers watching, and maybe there's some renewed hope about some injustices served them by certain medical facilities. So how long? Okay, because even the scenario I gave you, they didn't sue, and then the child is about 26 years old now. In a situation like this, where they are now getting this new information that, oh, you could have done this, you could have done that, is there a time frame within which you are within your right to take legal action, or as long as you are dealing with the, repercussions of their negligence, you are still able to take legal
action? Unfortunately, in Ghana, we have time frames for every action. Negligence, if I'm right, is 3 years.
Okay.
So from the time the action started, the wrong started, or the thought started, you have this period within which to bring an action.
Okay.
Unless, of course, there is an exceptional ground that at the time of filing, you would seek leave of the court in order for the court to hear you, to find reason why your action should be grounded. Other than that, the action becomes statute bad. Okay. So statute bad means that given the time expiration, you cannot file your case because you slept on your right.
Oh, okay. So, like with what you said about sometimes even you are likely to get the hospital catering to the long-term effect of their negligence. In a situation where it's taken this long, over 20 years, will they still do that?
20 years in terms of?
So let's say the repercussions. Yes, maybe the family is still dealing with the effect of the negligence. And let's say the court has ordered for the hospital to be liable for all of that. Would it take the whole life of the victim, or it's just for a certain period of time?
So all of that would be looked at. So you have a baby born with the example you
so
cited.
Now they are intellectually challenged.
In the pleadings, so the pleadings in ordinary sense is a story of the parties. Now, the pleadings would show the age, would show the caregiving arrangements that particular person would need. Now, will also lead evidence at trial to establish that throughout the lifetime of this particular person, this and that and that and that treatment is what the child will need. Now, this would be the financial regime and all of that. This would, and aside that, the court would also give compensations per the reliefs of the whoever is mounting the action in respect of the mother or the father, for the hospital causing such arrangement. And now, most of the time, we sue the hospital together with the health worker, jointly and severally. Okay. The principle is that the judgment debt hovers over their head. In most sense, the doctor will not have all that money to settle the judgment debt, and same as the nurse. So, but with the institution as being the employer, they always have the resources. If the money in their account is not enough to set the debt off, we go by what we call rate of FIFE. Okay. And machine equipment and other medical gadgets would be attached and for judicial sale in order to clear the debt. So medical negligence is a serious matter, and just as we always do our annual Mount Hesse Medical Negligence Seminar, we also entreat the hospitals to take it more serious. I mean, and even with the roadshow, it is free, but you will get institutions that will still call your bluff. Okay. And one such institution, after calling bluff, I'm not saying that honoring such a program is a life changer, but it brings education to your place, irrespective of myself, any other law firm or lawyer doing it. Now, few months down the line, that particular hospital went viral with a medical negligence situation of a woman dying at its place. I think she was a hairdresser or not. I'll mention the name of the hospital. So the thing is that negligence does not greet any man that I'm coming to you. Yeah. And again, negligence is irrespective of your position in society, because by the time you be rushed to the hospital, nobody will know whether you're a lawyer, you're a judge, you're a doctor, you're a journalist, you are... No. Yeah. By the time someone will trace you out to say, oh, this is the popular journalist we know,
the issue has already happened, yes.
So it is a collective call that we encourage our hospitals, we encourage our medical directors to have annual programs, engage professionals to help with their staff so that we can deliver such a strengthened healthcare system in Ghana.
Okay. So what happens if, the medical facility as well as the professional is sued, and then the facility detaches itself from the situation, leaving the professional alone or hanging in the balance? How would that be handled by the court too?
Now, when you sue in that regard, it behoves on you to show in your pleadings and also at trial that indeed this person at the time of the negligence was a worker.
Okay.
So the employment relationship must be established. If the employment relationship is not established, then there is no way or there's no reason to join the facility. The facility would come in and say that it is not the proper person to be sued, and we would be raising issues of misjoinder and other matters.
Okay. So something like a doctor forgot his scalpel in somebody's intestines. Maybe the hospital would say it is the doctor that forgot. It has nothing to do with us. How then is something like that balanced?
Yes, that is always no lawyer defending any institution would say that, because once you have mentioned in the pleadings, especially the introductory part, that this doctor is an employee of this particular hospital, that settles that issue.
Okay, so they cannot.
No.
separate
You cannot
themselves.
separate.
Okay.
You cannot separate.
Okay.
I mean, even in situations where the person is doing locum at another facility, once at that particular time of the thought, the hospital or the clinic or the facility had engaged that person to do locum, it is deemed that that person had an employment relationship with you. So whatever wrong that occasions out of it, the hospital will be vicariously liable.
Okay. So regardless of the scenario, the hospital is always vicariously.
Yeah, the hospital is always vicariously liable.
Okay. So let's take a quick break. Please send in your questions, or you can even call in. I'm sure the phone lines will be open right after this break. Send in your questions, send in your suggestions, send in your experiences with medical negligence here in Ghana so that we can read them aloud. We can also have Lawyer Malm Hesse here to answer your questions about what legal processes you should take whenever faced with medical negligence. We will be right back. Welcome back to the KOKO Digest Morning Show. If you're just tuning in, this is the KOKO Digest Morning Show, and today we are talking about medical negligence from the legal standpoint with Dr. Why do I keep calling him Doctor? With Lawyer Malm Hesse. Sorry. So he's educating us today on how to handle medical negligence and, the processes to take, procedures, everything about it. So send in your questions. And you can call in our phone lines to ask your questions as well. So we have our WhatsApp numbers displayed. We have our Facebook and YouTube live stream. You can send your questions there as a comment or two. Call your friend, text a friend to tune in and learn something today. So yes, Esquire. Yeah. I won't say lawyer again, end up saying doctor. So as a layman here in Ghana, how do I even start a process like this? Yes, I go on the internet and I find ECAM consult. What do I do next?
Yeah, I mean, just like I said early on, you go on the internet, because definitely if you don't have personal relationship with lawyers or law firms, as you retain them as your lawyers, you definitely would have to find them on the internet, or by referral. So either referral or the internet, and then you book an appointment. You definitely get the contact of whichever lawyer, book an appointment. And then at legal conference, you run by the lawyer your problem. If the lawyer is okay to handle your medical negligence case, he will tell you that I can do it, then give you pointers how to go about it. If he cannot or she cannot, she will also tell you that I have a friend who can do it. That's what we normally do. I mean, we all have our areas of interest.
Okay.
So it is not that that lawyer is not good, but that is not probably his area or her area of interest. So she'll say, oh, let me refer you to a friend of mine, and I'll be checking on him or her the progress of your matter. And then it will start off from there. Now, in the conference, should it be that your financials are not strong to commence such a case? Because if you are suing 4 million, 5 million, given your situation, what do you call it? The cost of filing at the registry would be around almost 5,000. Yeah, because similar ones that are filed 4 million, 5 million, it sells around that. So probably such a person who is not that financially, and I will not be able to. So it's about the arrangement you have with the law firm. And they would execute a legal service agreement. And based on the terms and conditions that will be agreed by the parties, they could decide to progress.
So am I the one who would decide I want to sue for maybe 10 million, or it's the lawyers?
It's the lawyers. It's the lawyers. It's the lawyers that decide. Now, and when a lawyer comes to that technical conclusion, it is also dependent on him to prove that at trial. Like I said early on, when the matter comes before you, you have to do a lot of assessments. The lawyer would have to get the medical records. There are situations where you need medical records, and there are situations where you need a medical report. You sometimes come across arrogant medical directors who would...
Let's put a pin in that. We have a caller on the line. Hello. Oh, we just lost the person. We do hope that you call back again. So yes, Esquire, let's go.
Yes. So there are situations you come across arrogant medical directors. I've been in such a situation before, who, while you, as the lawyer, you are asking for one thing, he is also telling you another thing. And when it happens like that, so it borders on whether or not you can assess the patient's records. And I'd addressed it as that it is one of human rights. Our facilities and our medical directors should learn to know that let me change it. In as much as you deal with patients in medicine, it is not a new thing, but it works hand in hand with the law. That is how come we have medical legal issues. Because even the relationship that you have with the patient is one of law. That is how come, should you fail to function in that right standard, we say that you are a tortfeasor, you have offended the person's legal or civil rights. Now, one thing that I also need to add to it is the informed consent. Now, informed consent is an area of medical legal issues where you give consent, however express, surrogate, explicit, implicit, there are other forms that the patient gives to the hospital to carry out a procedure or a treatment. Now, it is important that the most deserved one in law is express consent, because the patient expressly tells you that I am in for this. It is always imperative for physicians or health workers to explain to the patient the risk, the benefits, and even the alternative risk and benefits of an alternate procedure.
Okay.
Now, in the case of Chester and Afsha, the doctor failed to disclose 1 degree risk of the procedure that he was going to carry out. And in the whole world, 1 degree, 1% risk, you feel is negligible. By happening that the patient fell in that degree of risk, and the patient held that if the doctor had disclosed the degree of risk, she would have changed her mind about the procedure.
Yeah, and they're not taking.
So, because we are now in an era where people are upholding their rights. It does not lie with you to say, I have gone to school and I have acquired all the knowledge in medicine, so you have to listen to me. What I say is final. What you say is not final. The doctors need to learn. Whenever I go on the road seminars, that is what I tell them.
Okay.
Be patient with your patients and be quick to listen. Don't be quick to dismiss. At the end of the day, even if the patient had read something online, that person's reading cannot transform into a medical certificate to challenge you.
Yeah.
Some of them feel that way. That, why are you saying this? What do you think you know? You've read something online and you sit in front of me. I always tell medical directors that when you have doctors or health workers behaving that way, you should be worried about those people because they'll bring you damages in excess of millions.
Okay.
Because we are in an era of informed consent. Without consent, you cannot take the organ of somebody outside.
Yeah.
I currently have a matter that I'm about dealing with a kidney matter like that. So that area is very, very important. It's very, very important. If you don't have a consent form, please make sure that you get external solicitors to draft one for you, for your hospital, whether it's blood transfusion, whether it's surgical procedures or anesthetic procedures. It is very, very, very important.
Okay. So do you think hospitals here in Ghana have like these policies or a framework of legal policies that they are supposed to make sure that the patients are aware of? Because I think outside the country, there are certain, it even spans all the way up to financial assistance. Do hospitals or medical facilities in Ghana have that?
Yes, I'm sure most of them, they do have it. Because the regulators ensure that all these protocols are harnessed to the benefit of the patients, because under the Constitution too, the right of the sick is upheld there. Okay. Even though we might have some of these things, it is not made readily known to the patients. I mean, you go to some hospitals, they don't even display the charter of the right of the patient. The patient does not see those things.
Yeah.
Now, and most of these things border on the managerial errors, which translates into the medical negligence matters.
So do we have laws in our constitution or other legal documents that speak specifically on medical negligence or even just generically health?
Yeah, I mean, we have about 10 legislations, regulatory and non-regulatory. But the area that deals strictly with medical negligence is the law of tort. Okay. As explained, as I've explained. Yeah.
So what about so in the Constitution, I think we have the Health Professions Regulatory Bodies Act, 2013 Act 857. And it says here that it regulates healthcare professionals and establishes disciplinary procedures. Then there's also the Patients Charter that is issued by the Ghana Health Service that outlines patients' rights. So is this something that it's supposed to be, is it that we the citizens are supposed to know, or it's something that these facilities are supposed to hand out to us to be able to also acquire some knowledge before we take any proceedings?
So these are things that two ways.
Okay.
Patients need to know, and the hospitals must also
make it available.
Yeah. So if they can print it out on walls or something. But ordinarily, someone who is sick will not be interested in reading to, you know,
Yeah,
that
they are
person
right.
feels uneasy
Yeah.
and all that. So it's the reason why be observant even though you are sick, and be able to recollect the sequence of events so that when anything goes wrong, you'll be able to speak out. Yeah. There's a matter that I'm involved in, and I commend the husband of the lady so much that as the pregnancy and everything until they lost the child happened, the husband documented everything on his phone at the note side. At this time, this was given to my wife. At this time, she was pushed here. At this time, doctor came in. At this time, they were trying to get ambulance. They were trying resuscitation. It didn't work. Oxygen malfunction. And he gave a complete, vivid picture of everything that happened. Even though people might not be able to do that, but have a sense of awareness when you enter into the hospital, because it's your body. What is given to you, you need to know. Ask questions. If you react to them, let the doctor know. The doctor is not all-knowing. The doctor also has seniors who even he would consult that particular senior, and other seniors will also reach out to other seniors. Same thing in law. We refer to our seniors and further seniors. So make sure that you tell the doctor whatever reactions, and doctors also disclose to patients so to take you out of liability. If the person does not understand the language which you are speaking, be the English, in the consent form, we have the durat side, where you need to explain to the person in the language that he so understands, whether Dangme, Ever, Hausa, whatever. Get somebody in the hospital, and that person in the consent form will fill all of that. When we do the training programs, we share consent forms on the 3 areas I mentioned: surgical,
Blood transfusion,
and then anesthesia. Because these are areas where negligence happens the most. So wrong prescription or prescription error, anesthesia gone bad. There is one that recently came to me that in the course of doing, it's in court. It's in court now, a 37 military. In the course of doing there was an anesthetic error. The court is yet to pronounce on whether indeed it was negligence or not. You know, so it is very, very important for patients to also protect themselves, just as the hospital is running a service by them.
So, like in the movies that we watch, the medical facilities usually bring consent forms. Is that something that happens here in Ghana, and how often?
Yeah, consent forms are always given to patients, but some of them are unable to in times of emergency. Now, let me explain. Now, apart from the situation of accident, where there's an accident, that's what we call running down action, motor accident, where patients are brought in and emergency surgeries must be conducted, or where the person is a minor and decision must be taken by the parents. Consent form is very essential to have the signature of the patient on it, or a family member. We call that one surrogate consent form. It's very, very important. If the hospital chooses to exercise that and negligence arises, the hospital will find itself to be blamed. They sometimes get confused as to, in terms of emergency, will this one be required? Will this one not be required? If indeed you have a lawyer, I always say that every hospital should have a retaining lawyer or law firm. So that in terms of that split decisions, you refer to your hospital, because all those big hospitals in the West, they have either in-house solicitors or external solicitors that they draw on. Number one, running training programs for them annually or biannually, always coming up with better or renewed health internal protocols to strengthen the healthcare delivery. You know, so it's everything a medico-legal issue in order to maintain the sanity of the hospital, which without it, it creates serious problems in the country.
Okay. Thank you very much. So before we wrap up, you mentioned an expert witness.
Yes.
What is an expert witness and what is their role? Is it someone like a doctor who is an expert in a field, or if you can explain what an expert witness is?
So when it comes to medical negligence and expert witness, now, starting off the low foot, in the course of talking, you mentioned that what if a doctor leaves something in somebody's stomach or in the body? So you say he left something, the debris in the body of the person. What happens? Can the doctor be held in the hospital? Now, from that angle, if he goes to court, we say it is res ipsa. You will not need to call an expert witness. That's what authorities say. You don't need to call an expert to lead evidence to say, indeed, after conducting the surgery, a debris was left in the body of the patient. Because it speaks for itself. That's what res ipsa means. Now, in the situation of other matters aside leaving debris in the body of the person, authorities maintain that you need to call an expert in that particular field. Okay. So if it's kidney, you call urologist, not a general practitioner. Okay. Because you calling a general practitioner, the lawyer cross-examining will run that person down. Okay. That he's not an expert. Yes, you're a doctor, but you are not an expert in that. And further other critical questions that would come up, and it will not go well for your case. So expert witness basically means a specialized person in that particular field to corroborate your evidence. Okay, so
it is limited to just the doctors or the health practitioners, not the patients, right?
No, because it's the specialist who can speak best to the condition that happened and to show that this is not the established procedure. Okay. That given the established procedure, any other procedure against it is negligence. Okay. Thank you so much. And this has been very, very educative and informative. And I'm sure you watching, you have also learned something. So please don't do famanyame whenever you are faced with a medical negligence issue. Please find your nearest legal practitioners and make your case with them and hold these health professionals accountable for their actions. So, Esquire, we would like to take your closing remarks to the general public and then we wrap up the show. Yeah, sure. My last words is in two limbs. General public, be more aware of your environment when you get into a health facility. Be able to record. If you can't record, just be aware of your environment so you can give account of whatever you experience. And then to our health workers, negligence is everything you need to avoid, because in as much as we appreciate the work that you do, you are acting in a legal environment. So we encourage you that you work to the satisfaction of your standards required so you don't fall a culprit of it. Okay, thank you very, very much. It was a very, very educative time here with you, and we hope to see you again, because people need to be educated on how to go about these issues. This is a very, very serious issue. Thank you so much. We will have you back once again. Yes, this brings us to the end of the KOKO Digest Morning Show. And I want to say a big thank you to you, my cherished viewers, for being with us throughout this morning, learning, being informed, and being entertained here on the KOKO Digest Morning Show. A big thank you to our production team. A big thank you to our sponsors. A big thank you to our management. A big thank you to Papa J and Papa C. Thank you for everything that you are doing for us. We will see you once again on Thursday morning, bright and early. Do have a blessed week.
unclogged TV.
Beyond the policy.